you get everything today. So I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Darien Police Commission, our 2,474th second order of business, acceptance of minutes of 3/21/24.
To approve.
Second.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Chief, correspondence.
Correspondence. First item is a thank you letter we received from the Depot Teen Center. Our officers in the Marine Division and our dive team assisted with their polar plunge back in March, which is a fundraiser they've been doing annually for the last few years. They were appreciative of our efforts, and I thank the guys that helped that day. The next item is a thank you basket of holiday goodies for Easter that we got from the Springdale Florist. They always tend to thank us around the holidays with their goodies that they put together for both civilian staff and sworn staff, and much appreciated. And lastly, for correspondence, we had a small flag ceremony. We retired the flag out in front of police headquarters on the chief's, one of his last days. It seemed like he was on tour that week. And the Stamford Police Department helped us with logistics, and their honor guard helped us out with kind of formations and how the proper etiquette, make sure the proper etiquette was used in retiring the flag and putting up a new flag. So we thank you. We sent a letter off to their chief, their mayor, and also to their honor guard. And that is it for correspondence.
That is very nice. Okay, I would like to turn it over to Captain Hedema, but I'm going to turn it back to the chief for department activity.
So
last time.
Captain Hedema is on vacation this week, but she prepared this activity report. It's a little shy of a week ago. It's pretty thorough, so I'll try and go through it here. This is from the period of March 21st through April 10th. On March 19th and 23rd, Stop and Shop reported shoplifting. On both of the incidents, products were taken in the amount of $258.91 and $111.96 respectively. On March 20th at 7:30 a.m., Darien officers responded to a report of a dispute between two individuals. The complainant stated that while inside his home, he observed a subject pull up to his residence in a vehicle. The complainant stated that he thought the subject came to his house to collect money he owed to a family member. The subject began pulling on the door handle and knocking loudly. The complainant stated that he then observed the suspect throwing objects at his house and eventually heard glass break. It was determined that the subject threw a rock through a front window. Officers located the subject at his residence in Stamford and took him into custody. He was processed for criminal mischief second, breach of peace, and was released on bond. March 24th, approximately 3:30 p.m., we had a report of a stolen motor vehicle. The owner was taking groceries into the house when the vehicle was taken from the driveway. The keys were in the vehicle, but the vehicle was not running. March 25th, approximately 12:30 a.m., a speeding vehicle was pulled over because it did not have headlights on. The operator was arrested for drunk driving. On March 25th, 4:30 p.m., officers were dispatched to the area of 150 Ledge Road, which is the Whole Foods Market, on a report that a male had just forcibly taken money from a female party. Dispatch relayed a description of the suspect, who was last seen running towards the post road. Two parties were located a short time later and identified by the victim as being involved in the robbery. Although no weapon was used in the incident, officers found a knife on one of the suspects. Both suspects were charged with robbery third and larceny sixth. The one with the knife was also charged with possession of a dangerous weapon.
Chief, I understand that the job between dispatch and patrol in that particular incident was remarkable and quite well done.
It was, yes. Thanks for pointing that out. It was a little confusing at first, but I believe the dispatchers and the sworn personnel that were working that afternoon they collaborated well, and I think that led to them locating the suspect pretty quickly. On April 1st, 3:10 p.m., and again on April 4th, between 5:50 and 6 p.m., wallets were taken from customers shopping at Trader Joe's. They were taken from unattended purses. April 3rd at 10:30 a.m., a Darien officer responded to Ledge Road on a report of a stolen motor vehicle parked in the roadway. An off-duty Stamford detective stated that he was driving by and received a license plate reader hit on the vehicle. The vehicle was a stolen Honda Civic out of Stamford. The owner was contacted and removed the vehicle from the scene. On April 4th, the subject turned himself into Darien police officers on an active court-issued warrant. The warrant was issued on December 1st of 2023 for failure to appear. He was processed and released on his court-issued $60,000 bond. Also on April 4th, Darien police were notified that the New England Fugitive Recovery Task Force had apprehended a subject and that he was being transported to Darien. The subject had 3 active court-issued warrants for failure to appear. He was processed for 3 charges of failure to appear first and held on a court-issued bond of $300,000. April 7th, the Darien officer took a report regarding an issue a landlord was having with a tenant. The complainant stated that when entered a shared common area, the complainant and Mr. Schneider had a verbal confrontation which was witnessed by another party. The altercation was video recorded and played for the officers. Officers responded to a Kelsey Street address and placed the suspect under arrest. The suspect was processed for above listed charges and was released on bond. April 3rd, our area was impacted with a severe storm from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Officers received 48 calls for service during the storm. This does not account for the regular calls for service we usually receive during the same shift. Captain Hedema would like to commend the officers who worked that evening. They did a great job, and also wanted to thank the fire departments, Post 53, and Department of Public Works for everyone's help. During the same time period, not of the storm, but of this activity report, 1 domestic disturbance incident, 6 incidents of identity theft and/or check fraud, 4 car burglaries of unlocked vehicles, 24 motor vehicle accidents, 3 with injuries, 137 traffic stops conducted by the Patrol Division and the Traffic Division. We had 864 calls for service during the same time period and 81 aided calls. Trainings that the department had during this same period, we had active shooter training and use of force for the entire police department. Officer Lasser attended methods of instruction so he can be an instructor. He is learning to be a patrol rifle instructor. Officer Frazier also took a OSHA instructor course. She'll be able to instruct us on OSHA standards. And then on April 7th, the association held a benefit for Detective Benedetto at the Piedmont Club to help him and his family as they navigate his cancer treatment. It was well attended by our PD, surrounding PDs, and all 3 of our fire departments. Also town hall staff and employees and citizens of the town. We'd like to thank the Piedmont Club and all that donated their time and financial resources for this event.
So extremely busy, to say the least. 864 calls for service, 81 aided calls, 137 traffic stops, and so on.
Welcome to the
Yep.
chief's spot. It was certainly a busy couple weeks for our new chief.
On my first week, I think we had an earthquake, we had a solar eclipse, we had the storm that some were saying it's close to a hurricane. I'm checking the boxes for sure.
All right, anything else you want to elaborate on? Anyone on department activities? All right. Thank you for that. Public comment. I know we have people for the potential car wash at 54 Post Road. Does anyone else want to address the commission? Because we are all ears. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to jump to old business, which is the potential car wash at 54 Post Road.
Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Welcome us back. Yeah, welcome, Chief. Great to see you. My name's Jay Klein. I'm an attorney with Carmen Law. I represent Cloud 10 Car Wash. As you all know, we're also joined by Marissa Terrell of AKRF, and Brendan Johnson is right here next to me, Darien resident and principal of Cloud 10. So you all remember, I think it was September or October that we came before you all, before we had filed any applications with the P&Z Commission to talk about replacing the Bertucci's restaurant close to the mall in Porter with a new state-of-the-art car wash facility. As part of that initial application or initial proposal, we, Brendan and his partners, had taken it upon themselves to really agree to install a traffic signal at the West Norwalk Boston Post Road. After that, we filed applications with the P&Z Commission, had a public hearing before them, had a really tremendous amount of public support for the project, which I think Mr. E used to be on the P&Z Commission, Mr. Cunningham. Not often that you get support for a project, right? Usually turnout is for the other, on the other side. And the folks on the Planning and Zoning Commission tasked us to engaging with the folks up in Hartford at DOT to say, hey, let's get this traffic signal green lighted before the P&Z Commission before the P&Z Commission acts on the site plan application. The first selectmen, state representatives were all supportive of that effort. And on the technical side, it was led by Marissa for the applicant and Veronica Parizio of Hardesty and Hanover, who acts as the zoning department's peer review traffic consultant. They've been involved in those conversations as well. It's been a difficult, I think, 4 to 6 months that we've been working on that, and Marissa can give you an update on those efforts and what we see as our next steps in getting a terrific development on the property from a traffic and safety perspective. So Marissa, I can leave that away and
Yeah. Well, I'll give the follow-up background of why we're back with a different driveway location, how we got from point A to point B. We had an initial submission to Connecticut DOT. This is technically their roadway, as are all the traffic signals on this section of roadway. So we need their approval to put this here via an encroachment permit, to put a traffic signal and to do anything with this driveway or this site's driveways at all. Otherwise, other than leave them exactly as they are, which isn't great. So we made a submission to them with our traffic study, the same that we gave to our Planning and Zoning Commission, the same that we gave to Hardesty and Hanover. We all agreed on traffic signal, except for Connecticut DOT, who said it's not warranted, it's not needed, not enough has been done to try to fix anything without it. We disagreed, so we formed a very strongly worded warrant analysis. We ran through, there's 8 different traffic signal warrants. We gave them examples of meeting 2 or 3 from our engineering judgment. We concurred with Hardesty and Hanover, who felt the same way. Ultimately, these warrant analysis, they're based on a national standard, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. In there's a caveat that says, based on engineering judgment. So I myself am a professional engineer, Hardesty and Hanover has multiple professional engineers, so does Connecticut DOT. There is a differing of opinion of the professional engineers involved in this project. For instance, we think the crash history warrants a traffic signal, they say it's not enough. We think the volumes warrant, they're saying, no, they're mostly right turns coming off West Norwalk Road, they don't warrant. Effectively, we submitted again with a very strongly worded warrant, and we're told, under no uncertain circumstances, no, you can't do it. We will not give you a permit to do this. We will not give you a permit to put the traffic signal. The applicant graciously offered to pay for it because maintenance of traffic signals and traffic signals in general are expensive, and we thought that might be behind their decision because they're having to maintain it. It's more work on their end.
I was going to ask you, they have to maintain it going forward, or did?
No, we said we
Offered.
would, can I give the layman's
Yeah.
terms? I said, with their legal counsel on the line, I said, you guys are engineers, I'm not an engineer. I said, but I've got the chief of police, I've got the representatives from the town, I got the state senator, I've got all the townspeople. We are all telling you, we need this. I said, I myself was driving by the location the night before the call with the DOT, and my wife and I were going below the speed limit because I was pointing out, there's our building, and this is what we want to do. There was a woman crossing the street with her iPhone flashlight in the pitch black that we almost hit, going 10 miles below the speed limit, and I relayed that to them. I said, I said, we live in this town, we all think it needs it, and I don't know what you're looking at for a traffic engineer study, but I said, you've got a Target coming in, you've got a Wegmans, which I said, in my view, is an Apple store that sells food, because you're going to have all of New Canaan coming down that road, and why don't we do it right the first time, and I'm going to pay for it. And their comment was, I'm summarizing, you're wrong, everybody else is wrong, if we are wrong, we'll be the first to admit it, we'll put it in, and we'll pay for it, and we'll save you the money. So I think that's...
When Wegmans comes in.
Whenever it's needed.
Whenever they believe
Deem
it's
it's
needed.
needed.
I mean, I was
Okay.
pretty forceful of the this defies common sense kind of thing, but I'm not a traffic engineer, so that's...
It defied our logic too. We thought having an applicant that was agreeing to pay for the traffic signal is more than half the battle. It's usually 80% of the battle. But the background on this was more to reiterate that we've really tried, because we've heard you from coming here prior. We've heard all of the town, and we've heard the Planning and Zoning Commission, and unfortunately, my partner in this is a registered road safety professional. The letter is under his signature as well as mine, and it did not sway them in the slightest. To the point where I'm still having a problem getting them to state that they are the reason that this isn't moved. They're like, well, we're going to keep reviewing it. We're going to keep changing our mind about where you can put things. So we had a meeting with them, and we said, because you review something and then you change your mind, what are you going to let us do on this site? How can we fix this? Where can we put this driveway if we don't have a traffic signal? And so this is the plan that we're bringing before you, because we want you to see what their reasoning is and how we are trying to improve upon that reasoning.
And just during your presentation, can you just, did Plan and Zoning already comment on this? And if so, what were their comments?
So, no, we had a preliminary meeting with staff level, and traffic consultant for the town was present as well. The reception, I'd say, was positive,
Usually
understanding that
comes
this
to us
is
first, I think.
a alternative to the gold standard, which would have been
Yeah.
the signal, since there's another party that has to sign off on that. So-
We effectively all decided it's the best option B.
Yeah.
But no one at the table, including us, is trying to tell you it's the best option, because we really feel firmly the traffic signal was. But we also feel like after 4 to 6 months, we've truly exhausted that option. The amount of emails I have back and forth with DOT, and the amount of reports and documents I've sent them to try to prove this is quite high.
And at the end of the day, they're using the MUTCD, saying it's based on judgment.
Yes.
I mean, their judgment is
Their
not logic.
judgment.
Okay.
If this ultimately gets approved and you put the driveway in Plan B, and they come at some point and miraculously the clouds part, no pun intended, and you get would you then have to move the driveway to your Plan A, or this could also work
So
with
they
the
can't
traffic
require
signal?
us to technically move our driveway. And that's one of the things that we thought this was all ridiculous, because then it could have created a worse problem.
Well, that's what I'm,
The applicant has agreed that the driveway will be moved if they put the traffic
Okay.
signal in, and we
Back
can
to
work
the
with
place.
planning and zoning to have that be a map note or whatever it needs to be
Yeah,
official.
we're happy to.
But it makes
Okay.
it on the
It
record
needs it. They're
official.
gonna, in my opinion, give it 6 months, they're gonna need it, and then they're gonna pay for it.
and then you're going to pay to move the driveway, so
Yep,
Okay.
no problem there.
I just didn't know if we were trying to figure out, I didn't want to preclude the traffic light because we put the driveway in the Plan
No,
B
we'll
and
shut
then we
down for
screwed
2
ourselves.
months or
Okay,
whatever we need
Yeah.
to do to take care
okay,
of that.
thank you.
And that's part of the design, because if you remember some of the site plan or that was up from previous, the site plan itself is largely unchanged, and because we have this large frontage strip to be able to queue people in when it was centered with West Norwalk Road, the way we're laying it out now, we would just need to move it over, but not need to do notable in-site work, so it can be done in a reasonable timeframe.
Marissa, with your finger, will you just point out where the existing Bertucci's driveway is?
Yes.
Relative?
So the existing one is right here, and we're going to go over about 20 feet, give or take. And then this is the existing curb cut here, and that is the existing Chipotle's curb cut here. So what we're proposing to do is close this curb cut. The majority of crashes in this area are concentrated at West Norwalk Road and at Chipotle.
Is that West Norwalk Road where the brightness I'm
Right,
talking about?
yep. So they did not want us lined up with West Norwalk Road without the traffic signal, preferably.
So they're having you go from here to here, but you could put it there with the traffic signal.
Yes.
Wow.
This one we
I'm not
view,
spending money doing this.
this one we view is more of a problem location, because this is where the crashes are centered. When we went to DOT, we gave them an option that we said, but there's also some congestion here. Part of the reason this road is challenging is because it's hard to get out on Boston Post Road.
It's going to get harder.
And it's getting harder. Their argument is that we are effectively generating no traffic. That was their response to us. We don't generate any cars, you're just a car wash, it'll all be fine. That was their response. So what we tried to do was originally design a system of 2 driveways that made it so none of our clients would come in front of West Norwalk Road, to just make it so no additional traffic on Boston Post Road was here. Didn't like that. So I finally had a call with them, just traffic engineer, and said, where can we put this? Like, what do you want to do here? We agreed to close this one. We more told them we should close this one. They asked us to basically go down to 1 curb cut, because at least we have better access management than 2 curb cuts, so less conflict points. We'll get rid of all the conflict points that existed with Bertucci's on this side of it. We'll put it here. They actually originally asked us to put it here, where the original one is, and we said, you know, we're only a little bit off center from West Norwalk Road. When someone makes a left out of here, if we're any closer to West Norwalk Road, you can't even stop. You're already in the middle of the intersection. And then people coming out of West Norwalk Road don't see me. And it's basically creating a skewed intersection, which is what we largely want to get away from. So what we asked them to do was to shift the driveway to the right, if we were going to do it. They said you can have up to 20 feet or so, but there's a left turn pocket that you can't see that starts right around here. It starts getting signed as the left turn pocket for the adjacent traffic signal. We have to have our driveway complete before that left turn pocket. So they gave us about 50 feet of where we could put.
You're still you're kind of getting tight too off the exit now too, off of 95, aren't you?
So yeah, we'll still be, so this is the existing, all we did was move
Yeah.
20 feet closer to.
I'm just
the
saying you may have people coming off West Norwalk Road, people coming off 95, kind of when you're trying to make a left, for example.
Yeah, the plus side with the coming off 90, I wish there was, usually if I'm going to do a mid-block curb cut, I'd really like to have a traffic signal that might at least be over here, and a traffic signal that might be over here, because a lot of the problem for West Norwalk Road is they do get gaps in traffic because of the adjacent traffic signal turning red, but they get no gaps in traffic coming from this direction, because your nearest traffic signal in this direction is quite far away. The gap from the traffic signal will help to some degree having it there, but their main reason for not letting our driveway start getting closer to it is that they have that left turn pocket that they don't want these cars coming across into that left turn
And
pocket.
you're going to allow
But
people,
Priceline, what's across the street there?
Priceline.
It's Priceline.
you're going to allow people exiting the property to take a left onto Boston Post Road?
Yes, so we had a conversation with them about access to the road, and we said, what should we do about access? They said, well, you could put in a right in, right out, but no one's going to do it, and then it's going to be really unsafe. And I said, I don't disagree with that. Like, right in, right out is less conflicts, but the problem is the options to turn around on this road, particularly when you add things like Wegmans and other traffic conditions, what it starts doing that I'm more afraid of in a lot of situations is frustrated drivers. If someone chooses to make the right and go down and around because they know the left is hard, and that's probably what, I mean, West Norwalk Road, their biggest argument with us is everyone's taking a right up there, there's no left. I'm like, it's because you can't make a left, it's so challenging. Some people are making a right and trying to find a way around, and you're not letting me take into account the people that want to make the left. Similarly here, what we've done is we've widened this, so DOT also doesn't want to let us have 2 lanes out. But what we've done is we really don't want driver frustration, so they've agreed to let us make it wider. It's actually technically wide enough that if after we opened we had a problem, we could strike it as 2 lanes leaving. But we know that the right turn cars will at least be able to slip. So we're hoping a majority of people will use that opportunity to slip right. But we also want to create something that is signed and striped and hyper visible for full access, because to be honest, it will occur, and we're more concerned about it happening less safely if we do something else. So what we're planning to do, and that's a big reason that we shifted this way, we likely could get maybe like another 5 feet. We're trying to be really thoughtful about how much we can get DOT to agree to a shift. But we're trying to at least get 1 car to be able to make a left out of here and wait here for anything happening, so they have time to at least observe West Norwalk Road, but we also don't want to move them far enough away that they can't accurately see West Norwalk Road. So their sight distance to West Norwalk Road is better. And then, again, if we go to this driveway, I don't know if there's much actually, but I think it's fairly clear why we want to close this one, and that this is definitely a benefit because we have so many angled collisions with not our site, but with Chipotle's site. And then if we line up with Chipotle and everybody's trying to look at Chipotle and look at West Norwalk Road, on this side we're going to be lined up with the bank, which is a far less intensive traffic generator, and we're closer to the traffic signal to try to create some of those gaps to make it a little easier to get.
If you're going on West Norwalk Road and you're going to try to take a left on the Post Road, concurrently, people are going south on the Boston Post Road to take a left on your site. Concurrently, there are people exiting your site trying to take a left on the Boston Post Road. That's like Mad Max. I mean, that is like beyond Thunderdome badness.
Well, so a couple pieces on that too. So we are going to try, and the reason they also wanted us to line up over here, they don't think anyone will come from West Norwalk Road to this site. I don't think it'll happen. That was hard to argue with because they're just telling us it won't happen. On this particular case, this is a big reason for the shift. So if you make this left, and all of this striping that's going to be on the ground is going to be that high retroreflectivity, like trying our best to make this very visible. But when you make this left, you will have a 1-car opportunity to wait if you see someone pulling out. So you at least will not be in this intersection. And to be honest, because that left is so hard to make, the idea that one left happens and the other one happens right behind it and then hits this one is much lower, because it's just very hard to get off of West Norwalk Road. So we've given them a space. Here, because it's 2 lanes, they can wait to make this left and take the intersection in without backing up through traffic. So they've got a space to wait here that is not, they don't necessarily have to make a very, very quick left turn. They are able to stall in the lane to make that left. And then making our left out, we would say is the most difficult. Our site is likely going to take the hardest hit on trying to make the maneuver. But at least when they make the left out, they again have a space to queue before they're at the intersection. So again, with the frontage we had, I don't disagree with most of the problems you have. I don't, I would speak for Hardesty and Hanover either, but we went through this a couple rounds. This is why we liked the traffic signal. But with the frontage we have, the only other option was just maintaining the driveways completely as they are to avoid doing an encroachment permit with DOT, because we actually gave DOT a different option than this that was, like I said, eliminating all the traffic in front of this roadway, in front of West Norwalk Road. They then said, well, what about this? We like this better. And so this is effectively DOT's option, which means they've given us an initial okay with it. But
So is there a revised traffic analysis saying that this works? I had the same
Yes.
concerns that Kevin had said. Can you send that to us, or?
yes, yeah, so we're about to file, and then the traffic study will be submitted, and I think we can submit it whenever.
Yeah, we can forward a copy to the chief and to the captain.
Yeah, so our main things to check for when we were analyzing everything is the left turn coming in here was level of service B, so very low amount of delay. We just don't have, again, DOT also took a large credit on our traffic counts, so we don't have a ton of traffic coming to the site, particularly compared to the existing restaurant use. So a restaurant doesn't have as high of a pass-by. If I'm driving down Boston Post Road, I don't randomly pop into my mind, I'm going to stop at Bertucci's. Usually I've planned my trip to Bertucci's. The car wash, I could be driving down the road and be like, you know what, I really want to get my car washed, and I could detour here. So a restaurant will generally generate more new traffic to the site. So comparatively, that was a big reason that DOT's argument wasn't one there before, you guys are lower, it's less. We have level service B here, and then the other thing we're concerned with, so that's just so you know, that's less than 20 seconds of delay around that. Leaving the driveway, our biggest concern is not having a queue that does all of this. Because you create driver frustration, and when drivers are frustrated, they start making unsafe maneuvers. Our queue is 4 to 5 cars at most, because we have it wide enough that the right turns can slip their way out, and it's really the left turns that are going to spend the time waiting to get out.
I think-
Do you feel you brought this to closure with the state? My biggest concern is if you, and we all live in the area, right? If you get off 95, right where the mobile gas station is, right? 2 stop signs there, even people try to jet out there and you're already on, in that lane. Here you're cutting across, basically 3 to 4 lanes, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of our...
So has that been brought to closure, do you think, 100% with the state, or is
The
there?
state doesn't want to bring anything 100% to closure, is what we've learned with them.
Yeah.
Effectively, for us to modify anything within the public right-of-way, we have to do an encroachment permit with them. And as such, the only thing we can actually do to avoid an encroachment permit is leave the driveways entirely how they are and change absolutely nothing, which would leave 2 on the road. So the only way to avoid them is that, and even then, we have a hard time avoiding them, because if we have to make a drainage improvement or we have to do anything at all, they have control over the situation. Because we asked them this time around to try to mitigate that, they replied to me saying, we take no exception to where you're putting the driveway, and we'll review it in more detail during your encroachment permit process.
Just typically more than you get from DOT.
Notably more than what you get at DOT, but again,
I
as
think-
I've tried to make them definitive in their answer,
Yeah.
they've come back saying, we don't do definitive, but also it is on record that, again, they had their legal counsel on regarding the traffic signal, that they would pay for it if it was wrong. There was multiple of us in attendance when they told us where to put the driveway, and that, again, this is their concept, so I do feel like we've come more to closure with DOT than we will with any other solution.
I, layman's view, they're not going to listen to anybody else. I think we've exhausted to answer your question. I don't know what else to do.
We spent nearly half a year, trying
So the next step is you get the traffic and do the official application
to P&Z. Yep.
to P&Z, which then comes back through us
Yeah.
anyway, so we will get the traffic study
Yep.
after that.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Yeah, I think you'll see, with that report and with this, while it's not, this is sort of a case where you don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. This is still an improvement over what was there. It's still an improvement over what could be there. There have been some other restaurants that have, we've gotten phone calls about, hey, can we come in and just, take the building? So we think this is still a great opportunity to improve conditions, and you have a partner here if and when DOT says, let's get the signal in, it won't be Cloud 10.
Remember when Bertucci's was there, they had both driveways, I guess it was one way, or I didn't really go there much, so
They
one way
were
around.
both
But you can make a left-hand turn out of that as
Yeah,
well.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that right there is a big,
We tried to make,
And the state is suggesting there would be less traffic with the car wash than the restaurant.
yes,
Yeah.
correct. And our data, when you see.
Do you agree with that, or? You hope not, but.
God, no.
I think the honest answer is, what's Wegmans do? Wegmans is and I brought this up with everybody on the phone, I said, that you guys take it into account, Wegmans. Wegmans is a game changer from we all live here, everyone can't wait. I don't know, what did they say to that, do you remember?
They said it's fine.
Yes, they said, so I think what's gonna have to happen here, again, I'm not the engineer, is
Going to have to roll out.
they're gonna have to see it. I offered for them to come down on a Saturday and hang out for 2 hours and just see what we all see. I can't cross the line, if you know what I mean,
Yep.
professionally, but I think they just wouldn't budge.
Well, if we go through the next phase of the process and we let it play out, we'll all obviously see, I don't know if we can be helpful but I guess we're stuck. We're on this road right now. I'm not sure that we can deviate from the processes but we probably have another half bite at the apple. And then we might have to wait and see how it plays out.
I mean, and the key thing, so I also represent the town of Norwalk on call. I reviewed Wegmans' traffic study, ironically, and gave more comments than DOT did. But a couple of key things, I do a lot of public and private, as Veronica does as well. For this application, one of the two things, again, the enemy of the perfect is the traffic signal. None of us traffic engineers said otherwise. We said it to our applicant the minute they hired us, are you willing to put in a traffic signal because this is what we think the best thing is for the site was, and they were on board. That is the perfect of the situation. However, reducing curb cuts is an access management tool that every traffic engineer is trying to do. So going down to one at all is the best. The other issue is just with this much frontage, to your point, you get close to 95, over here you're near Chipotle where we know there's accidents, West Norwalk Road's in the middle, there's not a lot of great frontage for it, so going down to one and trying to find a location that it can at least be smartly viewed and have less cross traffic with the bank versus the Chipotle, again, was why the Plan B is the best case Plan B. And then I think your two safety measures that you have in place, or your fallbacks, is one, DOT has on record with their legal counsel stated they'll put it in if there's a problem. And maybe when it's not coming from an applicant and the town is really rallying for it, that would change it. They've agreed to pay for it, so it's not going to be a problem. And your applicant is going to move it, which is very rare. Usually once you have your approvals, you're done. You can't be forced to do anything. That's why these curb cuts are grandfathered in. So moving it is a huge advantage. The last thing I'll say is that Norwalk with Westcog, which is your MPO, is commissioning a study for the entire stretch of Route 1. It's primarily in Norwalk, but it does extend to this intersection. And they're going to be studying it for the next several years. And that will be around kind of what's going on with Wegmans, and it's going to be going through public hearings during Wegmans. And that also clearly has CONDOT's approval, but it also has Norwalk and Westcog, and so it gives you a lot of public partners to maybe talk about this intersection and things you'd like seen as part of this intersection. We already know that, because we were involved in the study, we know that they're going to be using the counts from this location and a lot of the background information, because it's all going to be publicly available, to be looking at that intersection. So they're going to have the warrant background, they're going to have that piece. So as far as the no hope situation, there is luckily with this site a lot of hope, and still technically an improvement over the existing condition. And I think that's one of the best things. Like, at least I can tell you that this is a corridor of focus because of Wegmans. It's a corridor of focus of your neighbor who also doesn't like their traffic situation, even if Norwalk generates more, like a lot of traffic that you're dealing with. They don't like their traffic either. Hopefully there's an opportunity to work together to advance this when they maybe don't see that there's a developer behind it, and DOT is a little bit more antagonistic in that environment.
Well, I don't think there's anything for us to come to a conclusion on. We'll follow it. It goes from P&Z, it will come back, and we'll get the full package. And
Keeping us informed is very helpful,
Correct.
appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Melissa, just one question. Do you have any insight into what is going to happen to the entrance and exit to the DoubleTree
With the
The new-
crossroads?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, they're not putting a traffic signal there. They are somewhat restricting movements there, but it's only because they have a full access driveway at the other location, so they're claiming that it's an overflow. That ironically is one of the few studies in Norwalk I didn't review because they basically said there wasn't a traffic impact at all and it didn't warrant a peer review.
So essentially, that driveway, which is the hotel now, is not going to change whatsoever?
No, they're claiming nothing's changing.
Okay.
They're not taking
Just
down a
a
traffic
question.
signal, they're not putting in a traffic signal. They were also told by Connecticut DOT they couldn't put in a traffic signal.
I agree with that, because it's, I mean, there's a,
Yeah, it's-
it's 100 yards from the traffic signal from 95, and another 100 yards up to Richards Avenue, or wherever that is,
Can you-
so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Will you be able to enter and exit on the post road there, or it's just overflow once you get
I
in?
need to look at it because honestly, that one, they didn't have me actually peer review it. And we didn't have to include the traffic study in this because they weren't even doing a traffic study. They said that it's just background growth traffic. It's like them rearranging their site for overall site circulation. What my understanding with Norwalk is the reason I didn't need to get involved in that review is because they made some trade-offs on them giving some additional pedestrian improvements, crosswalks, safety concerns. And I'm sorry, that is one thing I should just mention because of Brendan's comment about the crossing here. We brought that up as another reason to put the traffic signal in, as well as the bus stop. DOT said that they are going to work to relocate the bus stop to the signalized intersection at the 95 ramps to make it so that there is not as much incentive or reason to cross here. We did, again, when I'm telling you, I pulled out all the stops, like we went and said like a signalized crossing, there's none anywhere near here, we could have one here. I think it's pretty logical. I felt bad because we informed them like, it'll be no problem, everyone's gonna love a traffic signal here. And we were all good until we got to DOT. But I won't be surprised if it goes in the future, given what I know of the corridor and how well this would actually tie into the 95 ramp and the adjacent intersections that are all getting retrofitted by Wegmans.
John, did you have a
I
question?
did, so at you all's request, I sent a letter in support of that traffic signal to State. Senator Bob Duff did the same thing. And so I'm just kind of curious if you've actually followed up and met with Senator Duff or any of his staff to try to see if there's something his Senate office could do to give assistance to you guys.
Yes, we did. We had, number one, thank you again for your support in that effort for Selectman Zakowski. We did follow up not just with Senator Duff, but also with the leadership in the Department of Transportation themselves, and they were told very explicitly, we're going to let the engineers make engineering decisions. We're not going to, I guess, bow to perceived political pressure, even though there wasn't any malicious intent certainly on anyone's part. But that was the message that we were told by folks.
Was there any talk with anybody that you spoke to at the state about a temporary signal being put in there, a post in West Norwalk for a construction project that's going to be happening in Norwalk?
So funny enough, that project was supposed to have a traffic signal.
Yep.
And we were going to then just make it permanent. Right before our application, DOT, I know the engineer working on that, DOT pulled the plug on that temporary traffic signal. It was all designed, it was all ready to go. DOT said, never mind, it's not needed. When we submitted our application, they said, we just determined this wasn't needed. I said, well, but you weren't taking our development into consideration with us. Like, you were already so close to putting it in for the construction project. Their argument was the construction project's going to generate more traffic than us, and if we didn't want it with the construction project, then we're not going to give it to you, because you're less.
I forgot about that,
They're not
Chief,
going to
yeah.
even put it in now as part of the construction.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
What construction project?
It's a bridge rehabilitation. It's going to create a detour.
They were gonna put a temporary light up. That came up months ago, right?
Okay.
And that,
Right.
their traffic engineer also determined that it was warranted. So there's now been 4 engineers separate from the state that have determined it was warranted to be installed. But the DOT does not.
All right, well, we appreciate the information. If we can be helpful, we will, obviously, we'll circle back here. And any other questions, comments?
I think once you get the traffic study or anything revised, just send it over to the captain, she'll send it to us and take a look at it more immediately, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complete, so it should be very quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time.
Good luck.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Building issues update. It has to be you. I'm looking at nobody else.
Captain Tadema has issues that are going on with the building and any repairs or requests, so she has provided this summary. The nitrogen system for the fire suppression system and the corrosion in the pipes is approved, and we're in the process of ordering the system. The mini split AC for the communications room was approved, and we are currently ordering the unit. The existing units kind of compete against each other and provide less than ideal climate situations in that room. It's open 24 hours a day here at the police department. The server room AC was leaking refrigerant, and due to the age of the unit, it wasn't worth being fixed, is what we were being told. So we're replacing the unit. That was approved by DPW, and they'll be working on getting that replaced in the near future. Our water heater has unfortunately reached an end-of-life status, and we have got approval to replace that. DPW is in the process of ordering that. The women's locker room renovation is going very well. It looks like it'll be completed by the end of the month. And our motorcycle for the traffic division was approved, sent to bid, and will be ordered in the next week.
So, Chief, so one thing that I'll add, and I think both commissioners are aware, we met with the first selectman, town administrator, and a member of DPW. So one of the things, I think John had a really good idea that going forward, right, so we can budget accordingly, these are pretty big expenses, right? You don't know when the water heater is going to blow up, et cetera, air conditioning units, et cetera. So what we're going to do is, I think John at some point is going to assign somebody in DPW to be responsible for this building to do a quarterly or annual audit, so we can prepare for this and say, hey, your water heater is whatever, 20 years old or 15 years old, you have 3 years on it, we can put that into our capital budget and plan accordingly as opposed to these last minute sort of expenses. So I think they're just looking to see if they have the head count or who they're going to assign that to with that Gentile. And I think going forward, we can stick to police work and not the building maintenance as much. So I thought that was a good idea. I think, Chief, you're in agreement with that as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, that makes sense. Most buildings have
Makes a lot of sense. PM schedule.
A capital schedule, at least of an estimated life of systems.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is definitely above our pay grade.
I think that's going to be true for other buildings in town too, not just us, which is
Well,
great.
we're reaching that fun stage of a building's life where it's not new anymore. All right, any other questions on building issues? Traffic. Darien Road Race, September 15th, 2024. I see my friend Janet King here, and I see a letter.
Yes, Commissioners, as you know, we established in the last year or so a list of ongoing town events that when they remain the same, they don't need your specific approval, only if there's going to be changes. So this year's Darien Road Race does have a anticipated change, so we've asked Janet to come and speak on what that might look like so that you could weigh in.
Well, I don't have extremely professional maps like theirs. I'm Janet King. I'm the executive director of the Community Fund of Darien.
Thank you.
What we're proposing is, excuse me, if you look at the old map, we used to go out on Andrews and Locust Hill Road. And so we would cut that part off, which actually gets more traffic, and add in a loop, thanks to the first selectman, in Great Island. And it's a 5-mile route. We also do a 1.5-mile fun run, but that's just that Pear Tree Point loop. So we're just asking to go to the race.
So we're still going down, as if I run in this.
Yeah, and where do I? You go
Collective we.
toward the water.
So we still go down Good Wives River somewhat and come back. We're just not going all the way down, and we're cutting off the whole Sunswick.
No,
So
Sunswick,
you're
we're still
going
on
up Sunswick,
Sunswick.
so you're doing the circle there.
Yep.
So you go down the same amount down Good Wives.
If you look at the
Yes,
written
I got
part,
it. Yep.
the map is
No,
like, it's
no,
the
I got
best
it.
we could
Now
do.
I see the red
Here's,
circle.
this is the best one.
I got it. Nope, I'm right with you.
Okay.
So the path through Great Island eats up the distance that you would otherwise be using on Andrews and,
Andrews,
It's approximately 0.88 miles though.
okay, really?
we're not going to.
Well, the runners do. So we get
That's probably
still
true.
start and finish our ad.
Yeah, okay.
Going to be going in Sunswick and then back out in Sunswick again.
So it's all the same, it's just shorter in that
Gotcha.
neck of the woods, so to speak.
Cutting off the top part, is how I
Right.
look at it.
So it's-
That part on Andrews and Locustville.
Which was always a little sketchy for our vehicular traffic too while the event was ongoing. Yeah,
And we have a lot of officers out there.
yeah.
Well, and it's all,
So this is actually a better route.
yes.
Yeah.
I think it is,
Okay.
and we're going to need your help in figuring out how many officers.
Yeah, we could probably, I don't, if you have volunteers, I mean, if we're not talking about vehicular traffic on Great Island, which I don't think we'll be at that point, but I think you look at cutting costs and hiring officers for the event now.
That's great.
But we'll all leave that up to Captain Hidema to decide, but I'm sure she'll want to meet with you.
Do we need a motion to approve, or we
Probably should to amend it.
It has to be
amend this?
approved before I go to,
Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the amended route for the Darien Road Race. This year is scheduled for September 15th, 2024, as marked on map provided by the directors. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. No left turn sign at Pear Tree Point Beach and Pear Tree Point Road one way.
Do you want me to kick off the first point, Kim, or?
You can.
I was just going to suggest with the opening of Great Island, maybe we just install the no left-hand turn sign coming out of Pear Tree Point Beach now, as soon as DPW can do it, rather than wait, until Memorial Day weekend. And also, maybe we should consider also working with DPW just to make that sign, whether it be, we'll use their professional opinion, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit brighter, whatever it may be, so that it's very noticeable and, people in fact listen to
I
it.
think we should explore a couple of options with DPW for enforcement of that left hand, including perhaps putting a bollard in the center, like you said. Yeah, I think anything we can do, working in collaboration with them to enforce that, or to make compliance with that no left turn more effective, we should do it.
Okay. I don't think there's any.
Do you want to make a motion to install it at DPW's earliest
Do we make
convenience,
it?
or?
Do we have a motion to install it anyway? Or is
That's a
that-
good question. I'm not,
Well, you know what? Let's make a motion, and if we don't need it, rather belt and suspenders. I make a motion that the no left turn sign at Pear Tree Point that is traditionally put up at Memorial Day be put up as soon as DPW gets out there, and any other signage DPW wants to put up,
Yep.
we are well in favor of.
Yeah, I'll second. If Captain Hudema can reach out to them, maybe Chief, and see if there's anything else that could be effective there.
Any other questions about the sign? All those in favor? Okay, well, that's the easier one. Pear Tree Point Road one-way discussion. I think we have correspondence back and forth about the idea of that. Anyone, you want to?
trying to find my email here. So we had a resident email both the first selectman and myself proposing consideration for creating a one-way type situation on Pear Tree Point, leading to the beach. Here it is. And with the acquisition of Great Island, it's been reported that it seems there might be an increased level of pedestrian traffic in the area, both on Long Neck Point and Pear Tree Point. Commissioner, I know we've spoken before. It's been our historical observation that pedestrian traffic in that area is higher during the spring anyway, just because people are looking to finally get out of their houses and exercise. But then we know the town gets a lot quieter during the summer, so that's we see a drop-off in pedestrian traffic in that area once again. So I know there's always a consideration for pedestrian safety and safety of our roadways. I don't know what the implications 100% would look like if we were to consider creating a one-way situation in any road in town, but I guess that's what we should discuss.
Terry, I would just to add to that, I'm not sure I actually know that the data does not support, if you make a road one way, you actually calm traffic. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. When you make a road one way, cars actually, and this is going back from my P&Z time, cars actually, because they don't have oncoming traffic, they go faster. Like that data is clear. Now, whether that would happen or not, but I don't, if the idea is to decrease speeds from people coming from Rings End Road taking the right, right there, and making that a one-way, I'm not sure, it depends on what your goal is, but I think you're going to embolden people taking the right from Rings End Road, and now we have a straight shot to the beach, and this is a one-way. That's going to be dangerous. I also think you then create some unintended consequences of if you live on that road and you can't take a right to go to town, you have to go left, and now every single delivery driver, Amazon guy, your whatever, you're really shifting the risk to Long Neck Point Road for some things as well. So just all things to think about when we're thinking about this in total, right? We have to, if we think about that, we have to think about maybe the knock-on consequences both from speed on that road, but also the risk to other places. So I'm just pointing those things out as potential things that we're going to have to consider if we want to think about something like that.
And as Chief Anderson used to say, without a crystal ball, we don't know what we're going to shift to where. And just on my experience, I think if we're forcing more traffic to have to exit the area on Long Neck Point Road, that road seems to be traveled at faster speeds anyway than Pear Tree Point Road.
And we've had
Comes
issues
down
with
the
that
hill
recently, right? So,
We have.
yeah. So I had some comments on it, which is, Pear Tree Point, it is relatively straight up until you get to 94 and 98 Pear Tree Point. There's that sharp bend there, and that's definitely dangerous for sure. However, I would also say, making that a one-way, you also have the same issue towards, after the beach there at 156 Pear Tree Point, right? There's a very sharp turn as you get
going
up
up the hill.
right? Long Neck there. During the COVID time period, I know one of the things that we did, right, increased pedestrian traffic for sure during COVID, probably, more so than Great Island, I would suggest, at least to date. We did implement the bike right, walk left signage. I go down there all the time. That's been highly effective in my opinion. Certainly we did that on Pear Tree, we did on Long Neck, and we did on Brookside Road as well. And I know on social media, a lot of people gave us compliments for doing that. So I do think that's been very effective.
That's right, Brookside too. Yeah,
did
that was
Brookside
great.
as well,
Yeah.
So some things to consider, for one-way road. I don't have a definitive opinion either way at this point, but a couple of things I think maybe the captain can look into. But one of them is, there potentially be more accidents in the near term, including with pedestrians. That's certainly one. Commissioner Cunningham just said it. I have fact-based data, right, when I went online this afternoon to look at this. Drivers do tend to go faster, when you turn a two-lane road into one-lane road. So there are things that we could do as a legal traffic authority there to calm that situation down. Should that be the case in the future, if we were to do this, you could install fog lines as one example to calm speed. But then again, we have to represent all the residents. So what I would say, if we did have to do something like that, I'm not saying we have to, but if we did, would that have a negative, consequence on property values, for example? That's not what people move into the neighborhood for. And then most importantly, I definitely would want to get feedback from residents down there, particularly everywhere, not only on Pear Tree, but you have Crane Road, and really get their feedback as to if this is something feasible. Whether it be trying to catch a train in the morning, or people going to zip around even that much faster, or going to town or going to church, whatever it may be. So there's a lot to consider because it's a pretty meaningful change in my opinion. So those are just some topics to think about.
Another concept that we used to bring up for other projects is when we put a crosswalk in, and people now have this false sense of security of being in a crosswalk. If it were to be modified to be a one-way situation, mainly because of our pedestrian use of the highway, I would hope that the pedestrians wouldn't take further liberties and turn it into more like what we see on Long Neck Point.
That's true.
Our officers are instructed that when we see walking 4 abreast, 5 abreast in the road, that situation needs to be corrected.
Pedestrians on Long Neck Point Road today treat it like the yellow brick road, right? And they're 4 abreast walking their dogs.
Yeah, to Commissioner Cunningham's point, I think part of this is education, right? We've done the Slow Down in Town campaign, 4 years, and then 3 or 4 years, forgive me. And part of that is pedestrians also taking responsibility, right? It's just not drivers. So, as you mentioned, false sense of security, walking into a crosswalk, we see that all the time. So maybe there's some education that we need to do. I don't know. We're not doing a Slow Down in Town campaign right now, but maybe we can work with the First Selectman's office and sending, part of your newsletter. Maybe there's other social media that we could take to. I don't know, but these are some considerations for sure.
Things to think about.
I know Monica's here. Do you want to comment at all, or you're?
Well, I think
I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to.
I think the education is always important, but we've been talking about that. But I think that, I hadn't considered the speeding. I'm more focused right now on the volume of foot traffic on both sides of the road and how there's very little space actually for a car, especially around that corner that you mentioned. So it would be terrific if people did not walk 2 or 3 abreast, especially in that specific spot. But I see both sides. I see right now we're just really concerned about people getting hit by cars, and the speeding is a factor. Obviously, to get hit by speeding car, it's even worse. When I was looking at this, I was thinking if it's the one way, you would have the foot traffic on the other side, which would be hugging that dangerous corner. So, between the stop sign and the beach, I'm not, obviously the people that I'm thinking about are walking from the beach to Great Island. They're not taking a right out of the beach. So, but I hear all of your concerns, and I really appreciate you taking it under consideration.
So is one of the first steps, Chief, would be, and Kim, would really be to do like what we did on 5 Mile River Road and pulse the neighbors?
Well, that would be a first step, and try to also, and again, we'll wait till Ally's back, this is her bailiwick, but as we know, you push in the balloon and it pops out somewhere else. We put in the speed humps on Prospect. Well, guess what? Everyone went to Overbrook and to Buttonwood, and we ended up. So somehow we have to get a unintended consequence. What does the traffic look like? Because since I'm a walker and a driver in that area, I live a mile from Great Island, but I clearly drive the area. Long Neck Point is not without its own pedestrian car issues. So to make that worse would not solve a problem. And I think that's interesting how many people we had during COVID, because we had increased enforcement. We did that's when we put up the signs. I'm trying to think of in the immediate, because even if all the options we consider, none of them are immediate. And obviously we're looking for, it's happening now, it's springtime, it's busy. So I'm trying to think of what we can do, whether do we still have the big flashing sign? Walk against traffic. Enforcement, not just of the cars, but of the people.
Well, I'd say that 95% of the problem is the pedestrians' use of the highway.
It's not a bad idea, Jerry, is to position that sign at the gate of the beach, reminding people to.
And we put up the sign that said, bike right, walk left, stay safe, but maybe just walk. I mean, we learn it in kindergarten, you walk against traffic and you bike with traffic, but not be cute about it. Walk against traffic.
Yeah, I think that's a little more clear, and I think the signs themselves are on the small side, and they're, from the weather, they're a little harder to read right now, not as clear.
Are you talking about the pole-mounted signs?
Yes, I'm talking about the bike right, walk left.
I also think that again, since I'm a walker, they could be positioned in the places where people break the rules. Like, to position it in the place where everybody's already followed. There's specific places that people tend to walk on the wrong side, but I think we could maybe reposition them so that they're it's always good when you're doing the wrong thing to have the sign in your face, so we can also look at the location of them, because some of them, I think, can be more effectively placed.
But I will say that that particular corner, you know, if you get 3 people over here or 3 people over here, they happen to be doing the right thing, right? One's going, one's coming, so they're on the right
Yeah.
side of the road. And then you get, you know, there's a low spot there, so we have a little bit of a drainage issue, right? So people are skirting the mud puddle, and it's, you know, they're in the middle of the road, and it's because there's nowhere else for them to go. So,
Yeah, no, there's, I will maybe quote our retired chief. Unfortunately, there is no right answer, there's no easy answer, and these roads were made for horse and buggy, and we have to coexist, and that's going to perpetually be an issue. Hopefully, it will be mitigated. I mean, COVID went away, we survived doing all this stuff during COVID. I don't know.
And we may see COVID-like numbers with the acquisition of the island. But I will say, it is connected. It's not the exact issue we're talking about here, but at least in my career, when we have a vehicle versus pedestrian accident, very, very rarely is it the vehicle's fault. It's almost always, I think Kevin could probably attest to that from the EMS perspective. Most of the time it is the pedestrian's fault. So I think through, you know, modified or increased enforcement or just conversations that we're going to have with people can be effective measure as well.
Well, it certainly needs to be, I mean, that can be implemented
Anyway,
ASAP.
yeah.
So we should definitely do that. And then, obviously, try to assess how many cars, what is the local traffic, you know, we can put up, you know, try to assess, plus enforcement, and talk to the neighbors, because that is a major, would be a major change for them, and they certainly get to weigh in.
Monica, have we engaged Galante about weighing in on his opinion on any traffic calming measures?
I'm sorry, did we?
Galante is
Mike Galante.
the traffic engineer that the town...
Didn't Mike retire?
Oh, did he? Well,
Well-
Galante Associates, or,
We did a traffic study.
yeah, but particularly around pedestrians? No?
No.
No?
It was, no, we were
It was more of just vehicular traffic? Yeah, okay.
Do we have that study? Do we have it?
I'm
All
not
right, well,
sure.
get that study too, because it's not going to be the last thing that comes this way.
So what I'm hearing is you're going to speak with the residents that are on the homeowners, and you're going to address the signage, and is that what I bring back to my committee?
Yes, and again, I don't know the exact, when I say, but we have to somehow get our hands around the actual traffic that would be then rerouted to Long Neck Point Road, because again, that's no day at the beach, no pun intended, when it comes to pedestrians and cars mixing. So again, we try to, I use Prospect Road as an example. We put in the speed humps and nobody did the totality, which is, oh, by the way, we've just created a disaster on Overbrook and Buttonwood, which we then had to solve that, you know. So somehow we have to look at not just Pear Tree Point, but get our hands around what it would mean for the whole kind of area.
Yeah, I think, Monica, more immediately, that no left-hand turn sign will be put up, and then we'll work with DPW, Captain Hudema will, to see if there's a larger sign, a bollard or something to put in the road to help at least from the beach.
We do know
In
sometimes
the very near term.
that sign gets ignored,
Yeah.
right?
Right, that's what this resident pointed out, that
Yeah.
there's not a lot of adherence to that.
I think there are a couple of things we can do quick and easy to better enforce that.
Right.
But that's just the beach.
That's
So
just,
we're
yeah.
in a little bit of a pinch here because the road widening project is going to be delayed, right? So it'll probably be done more in the fall, early winter. So right now, we have a situation for this summer that we're looking to address. And just what I'm hearing is that the one-way is not an option that would take place this summer, even if we had approval from everybody. Like, what's the timing on a decision like that?
I would say that just
complexity of that.
The complexity of that might take a little, I wouldn't say that that's probably an option for this summer. Not to say that it's not, but it would be, I would say, a long shot for changing that to one-way.
I think, Monica, another takeaway, though, is like it's a proven fact that turn a two-way into one-way may increase speeding or cause a speeding issue there. Right, that's one. And then two, I think another big thing, representing all the residents here, right, just not the pedestrians that are down there. Right? We're talking about pedestrian accountability for sure, right, number one, but also number two, if a speeding issue does occur, theoretically, right, you have to calm that somehow. Maybe that would be, again, as I said, right, you have to install fog lines. It makes it a little bit more industrial looking. Not sure the neighbors would love that. That's not what they moved into, right? Does that affect their home values, things like that, right? Those are definitely some considerations, and I think we'd have to socialize that with the residents down there for sure.
Mike, what I'd love to do is, if you want, I can grab Captain Hedema and we can come and have a discussion, particularly around that with your group, and have a more collaborative discussion about all the permutations of the things that we could possibly do.
Okay. Well, in the meantime then, could I commend you for the patrolling that you're doing on the island and ask you that to continue that level, because it's very good, and that in and of itself, having patrol cars going down Pear Tree also is its own, I find it a speed calming exercise myself when I see a police car.
You're not alone. It's definitely a speed calming, and spring, again, it's not even traffic. People come out on a nice spring day, it's amazing. So if we can easily time the patrol division to hit Great Island and the environs around there, and we obviously, when the boat goes in, we have presence down at the beach. So hopefully we can get through this acute period and give ourselves time to kind of assess the bigger picture, and then see where it goes.
So the next step on your end would be reaching out to the homeowners in that area?
That would definitely be a big step. Yeah, we would never make a big change like that without
Totally understand. Makes all the sense.
talking to the neighbors and giving them a chance to come in. Anything else on that? Okay, the area of 398 West Avenue.
Unfortunately, we had a erratic operator there the other night in that area and ended up losing control and striking some mailboxes. And if we, just so we're all on the same page, 398 West Avenue is that hairpin kind of turn as using West Ave to access Stamford. My entire career, that corner has been problematic, but mostly due to high speeds, DWI, distracted driving, that type of thing. I think there's no question there. That's most of the incidents that we get there. This resident reached out and asked if there's any considerations we may have in addressing some of the road features there, potentially, readdress the signage, maybe work with Public Works. So we're going to take a close look to see if there are things that are maybe lacking at that area. But I will say, historically, it is due to the drivers being distracted or under the influence and high speeds. And I'm not sure what measures we can, if the road is traversed properly and legally the way it's designed to, there shouldn't be any accidents there. So we will take a closer look at that, and we're working with our traffic division and Captain Hedema and see if there's something that we can come up with to improve that.
Jerry, we're going to grab some jammer data for that area too, right?
Sorry?
We're going to grab some jammer data?
Yes, if we haven't already, I think it'd be worthwhile to at least
Better understand some of the...
freshen it up.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. Okay.
And the only other place I can see in town that has that kind of hairpin turn is Upper Hollow Tree. Do we have the same signage there? Because that used to be, Upper Hollow Tree was
Literally a death trap.
literally a
There's not
death.
much more we can do there. I don't
No,
think.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, but it's been 10 years since we've had, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, is it the same signage there as the other place? I'm looking at all the other unfortunately, we can't straighten the roads, so I think it's
But like you
Wow,
said,
to
it's
see what's-
comparable to what we're talking about here, so it'd be worth taking another close look at
take a look up at
what's
Hollow Tree, what's up there.
present there now, yeah.
Yeah, no, again, much like pedestrians, this is, there's nothing inherently unsafe about it. It's not ideal, but it's, if you're operating your vehicle in a safe manner, it's certainly manageable, but it's,
Thousands of cars get through there each day without any issue.
but it would be nice to just relook at it all and make sure that it's, we're doing everything we can short of straightening the road, which you can't do. Again, if we could redesign the town roads, that would be really helpful. All right, so Captain Demo will get back to the resident and do an analysis, and, okay. And let us know if there's anything you need us to do. New business.
New
I think
business.
that's all you.
Yeah. So,
Overworked everywhere, Jerry.
one of my first actions I took as chief of police is to name my executive officer, and I'm happy to announce that that'll be Captain Allison Hedema. The executive officer is in place to take the roles and responsibility of the chief in an unforeseen absence or a planned absence. So I am fully confident that she will fulfill that role the way it needs to be and do a very good job at it. And that being said, she has put in a request to transfer to the Field Services Division, which was my old side of the house, and I believe that she is an excellent candidate to commander, to oversee patrol, specialized units, Marine Division, things of that nature. And I would propose to the commission to allow Captain Hedema to take the legal traffic authority component of her previous position in the admin side of things with her, because I think that better fits into the field services side, working as close as she does with the traffic division and half of what we talked about tonight. So I think it's a good fit, not only to bring that component to field services, but she's the right person to head that division. And as we know, we have a captain's vacancy to fill, so the new captain will be stepping into her former role.
And having her oversee, or continue to be the liaison to the LTA, I think is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes
And the
sense.
new captain will be so sad not to have traffic. We probably just made it a very, much more attractive job.
Right.
Do we need to approve that or anything?
I think
We did?
We're
Okay.
aware, yeah.
Next, Officer Cusano, I am happy to announce that he is transferring from the patrol division to the detective division. He began training. He's going to be taking over as a youth detective, as well as some other roles and responsibilities the detective division has. He is a good fit. He put in for the detective division approximately 2 years ago, and it was a very competitive process. However, I believe Detective Silva got the position at that point, but we wish we had 2 openings back then too, because he's a good fit. So he'll start. I believe that'll be pretty seamless for him to take over Sergeant Wallman's position, and as you know, recently promoted Sergeant Wallman will be leaving the youth division and detective division and heading back to patrol. So we're excited about these changes. We have more changes coming down the road here, and I think these are some no-brainer type decisions to make, and I think these officers are going to be in very good spots and really kind of be asset to the divisions that they're joining. Lastly, our 2 newest officers, Officer McDonald and Officer Head, have successfully completed their FTO program, so we're excited to have them out on their own now. Will be filling some holes in squads that have kind of been vacant for quite some time, so we're hoping that not only will soften up our use of overtime, but also give the manpower back out to the road that we've always needed and we've missed for quite many months. So we're happy to see them doing well.
Yeah, both terrific.
And that's all I have on.
Excellent. Well, it's a regular meeting. Feel free to add anything, any comments from the field? Anyone add anything else? Okay. Our next meeting is the last thing we need to... Second, the 16th, anyone? I'm not
maybe it's
here
a-
on the 2nd,
Okay.
so
Is that the conflict that you have as well, Rick?
Rick is not here. I am not here. Anyone have a problem with the 16th?
I am not here.
How's the 9th?
There we go.
How's the 9th? Split the difference?
I'm going to be in Miami on the 9th.
Yep, California.
This is a first. We're usually very here.
So the following week, the 13th, works for me. Any of those days, pretty much. The week thereafter, I'm going to be,
All
I'll
right,
be in
yeah, so let's go
California
off of
following
Thursday
Kevin.
so that we don't go so far. I'm generally here, so when you say you're not here, are you not here for the week, or you just can't do it?
I'm just coming back on Thursday. I can see what time my flight is, but
All right.
Which week are we talking about?
Yeah, you guys pick a date, and,
talking May 9th, right?
yeah, May
But-
9th doesn't work.
So we're up to the 16th then?
So, yeah, but that didn't work for somebody, so we're
Oh.
going to do it maybe not on Thursday.
Oh,
I'm going 6th through the 10th, and then the 13th through the 17th, so I'm out
6th through the
those
10th.
entire 2 weeks.
We might have to miss you.
That is fine.
We're getting towards our marching in the parade, Jerry.
that's right.
Got your comfy shoes.
Are you away the week of the 13th, you said? Sorry.
Correct.
Are you here the week of the 13th? Who's available the 16th? know
I
you're
am.
not. I'm sorry.
I'm around on the 16th.
Why don't we say the 16th? I don't want to push it out too far. I usually like to have us all here, but shit happens. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
16th, good with everybody?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a regular meeting, it's on the calendar.
Great.
I think that's the best option of bad options. Okay, 16th, 4 o'clock,
Move to
move to adjourn.
cover Commissioner Hufford's
Please keep that out.
FCC violation with the alarm
I don't
clock.
think anyone under the age, or over the age of 18 is watching us.
We're adjourned?
We're adjourned.